So one thing we all love, and I know this is a Pistons video, so stick with me. One thing we all love about Dan Campbell is his brutal honesty. Well, Monty Williams for the Detroit Pistons is proving to be just as honest and probably even more vulnerable than Dan Campbell has been. And he came out and said something very unique that leads me to believe that these rookies, Asar Thompson and Marcus Sasser, are going to play even more than I thought they originally would for the Detroit Pistons this upcoming year. I thought there might have to be some development time, especially with Asar and kind of what he's looking at. But after watching him in Summer League and seeing what Monty Williams had to say, oh my goodness. So without further ado, let me talk about this. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see this. I got this off Yardbarker, but this is very interesting. Here's what he said. He said, I've become a fan of Asar and Sass. That's Marcus Sasser. Williams said via Omari Sankofa of the Detroit Free Press, their toughness, we saw it down the stretch. Those two guys just made play after play and played what kind of basketball? Winning basketball, which is something that makes me want to take them home and arrange a marriage with my daughters. All right. Okay. We're going to go back to this article in a second, but like Dad's vulnerability, he's just apparently he really loves the way Asar Thompson plays. And what's not to love? What I loved about him is after the third Summer League game, we won the game. He has an interview. It was either after the game or before the next one where they talked about, and here's what he said. It was after the game. He talked about when his shot's not falling, they're like, what do you want to do? And he's just like, I want to, if my shot's not falling, I want to do everything else well. I always want to do everything else well. I just want to stay on the court. And he was so clear that he just desperately wanted to be on the court and he was willing to do anything that he could to be able to get it. When he says, when I'm unable to score, I focus on contributing in other areas to remain on the court. Although I'm confident in my offensive abilities, these games where scoring hasn't been prominent have forced me to impact the game differently. This is a rookie. This is a guy in Summer League. In Summer League, everybody's out there to get theirs. They're out there to prove that they're a scorer. They're out there to prove how they're going to be on the team. And he's saying, no, I'm going to prove I belong on the team by playing winning basketball. I'm going to move the ball around. I'm going to get rebounds. I'm going to defend whoever you want me to defend. I'm going to get steals. I'm going to get blocks. I'm going to impact in every single area of the game. I'm going to be a stat sheet stuffer. You are going to love having me on your team. And oh yeah, by the way, I'm shockingly athletic too. And he just got better. In the first game, he had 7 points. He only shot the ball 4 times, but he had 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and 1 steal. In the second game, his offense got a little better. He got 12 points. He shot the ball 13 times. All right, 0 for 2 from 3. That's okay. But he had 8 rebounds, 6 assists. That was his high watermark in assists. He had 3 steals and 2 blocks. Noticing any patterns here? Steals, blocks, rebounds, assists. Got even better in his third game where he went for 17 points on 14 shots. Hit his first 3 of the Summer League. Went 1 for 4 from 3. Had 9 rebounds, had 3 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. In a win, he played winning basketball. That is when James Wiseman was done. Jalen Duren was done. Jaden Ivey was done. Asar Thompson was the best player on the floor as we beat Toronto. And then against the Spurs, had arguably his best game yet. Shot 50% from the field. So over his last 2 games, shot 50% from the field. He was a combined 3 of 9 from 3. He was 2 for 5 in this one. He had 14 rebounds. 14, you heard me right. 2 assists and 1 steal. He just did what he needed to do to help the team win. And then when you go and you look at Marcus Sasser, honestly, his shot was off. He still was able to impact the game. He was still able to get 1.3 steals per game, which is fantastic. He had 1.8 turnovers per game. Honestly, you can limit that a little more, but it's not bad. When he had the opportunity to run the point, he ran it much better than I thought he would. Games 3 and 4, he was much more steady with the ball than he was in games 1 and 2. And he just played winning basketball. His shot's going to come around. He shot well for 4 years at Houston. He's not going to just suck all of a sudden. So here's what all this tells me. When you combine what you have with Sasser and just his ability to do everything well, if he can even have a resemblance of a three-point shot, I'm talking like 30, 31, 32%, the dude's going to be on the floor because he moves the ball so well. I don't think when I'm watching the Pistons Summer League, I don't know if I've ever seen a player that better embodies what Monty Williams offense is supposed to look like. That 0.5 offense. And if you, I've talked about it on this channel quite a bit. Jarrett Jack talked about it when he was in the middle of an interview. Jarrett Jack, or they mic'd him up for one of the Summer League games. Now I'm just starting to get excited and talk about stuff. Jarrett Jack, they interviewed him. First off, he barely talked to them, barely answered questions, but you could hear him yelling, move the ball, 0.5, 0.5. He kept yelling 0.5. What that means is quick decision. When you get the ball, you have half a second. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to pass? Are you going to drive? Or are you going to shoot? What are you going to do? Are you going to move the ball? And Asar Thompson perfectly embodied that. Nobody, I repeat, nobody, not even the guys that have been on the team for a while. And I understand Monty wasn't the coach, but not the guys in year two, not Ivy, not Duren, not Wiseman. Nobody did better at embodying this offense and what it's supposed to look like and moving the ball like Asar Thompson. There were times out there that he reminded me of athletic Draymond Green, and he's only going to get better. For him to be that good, coming from where he did, where he was playing against horrible talent. And so he comes in here and it's like, what's he going to look like when he has to play against better players? Like college players come into this and look overwhelmed playing against pretty high talent in college. He comes in and he's just like, nope, I'm still supreme. Are there some things that you want him to figure out as far as finishing goes, when to shoot, how to get himself open, getting a little more control of his dribble? Of course there are, but he grew in every one of those areas over 4 games, over a week. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So watching him play in those was really exciting. Obviously, Monty Williams was as excited as I am, maybe more, when he talks about prearranged marriages with his daughters. I'm sure they really appreciated that. I'm sure they're like, Dad, why are you doing this, man? But obviously he's excited on that article. What it goes back to say, a quote from Monty Williams, you can see the talent of this group and you can see the size, but what I'm really impressed by is the people. He said this last month. I don't think I've ever seen a press conference for a head coach and all the players show up. That's what I see. A hunger, a desire. They all want it. He goes, if you're asking about similarities to Phoenix at the start, that was what was similar. Those guys were hungry. They wanted it. The question is, do we have the talent? And I think we're starting to get there. All right. Be high on the Pistons. Don't be haters. We'll see you on the next one. Leave the comments. Hit subscribe. Would love to have you here. We want to be your go-to spot for Lions, for Pistons, and we'll see you